with better. Better has to do with a person receiving improvement. And again, there's not a person in this church that somewhere in your life you cannot stand for some improvement. I believe if all of us would be honest, we would admit to people that we have not made it yet, that there are still some things that we're working on. Oh, Lord, I wish y'all get real and look at somebody and say, I'm still working on some stuff. Don't you be ashamed of them if they ain't saying nothing. It's just because they lying in church. They know they got some stuff that they working on. Just tap two more folks and tell them, I'm working on some stuff. I'm working on. Matter of fact, I'm working on myself. I know that everything not where it need to be. I'm working on myself. Don't be too hard on me. Don't judge me. Don't be too critical. Understand that I'm yet working on myself. I hadn't made it. I hadn't obtained. I'm not perfect. I'm yet working on myself. There is some improvement that needs to take place in certain areas of my life. And again, that's not limited to nobody. That's all of us. That's got the pastor all the way back to the ushers. That's got us because, again, we are not perfect. And anytime you look at a person long enough, you will find some things in their life that need to be improved. The problem with a lot of church folk is that we get real hypocritical. We begin to look at the faults of others as if we don't have no faults. And some of you love correcting folk, even though what you correcting them about, you ain't got it together yourself. And you know God told you that before you can take a speck out of your brother's eye, get that plank, get that log up out of your eye. Oh, can I break it down? Sister, before you try to tell somebody else what they need to do, why don't you try leaving that no good man alone that you always running with? Then you can tell somebody else how they need to behave. Yeah, I'm talking to you, the one that's got that nasty attitude. Before you tell somebody else that they should be nice, they should be polite, why don't you take some time and work on that attitude? Why don't you take some time and work on not having favors, not choosing? Oh, Lord. Oh, as you be seated, just say, Lord, I need some improvement. That's a sobering thought when you think, I hadn't made it. I still got some work to do. Still got to work on some things. Got to tighten some things up. I mean, no, sometimes you tighten it up, but somehow it gets back loose. Got to tighten it back up. Got to check myself. Ain't been talking the way I need to be taught. Ain't been thinking the way that I need to think. I got to change that. I got to make some adjustment. This is not right. I got to get on top of this. Some improvement need to take place. But how many know that's a good thing? And so again, better has to do with God showing up and improving his people's lives, improving it. But it also has to do with increase. It has to do with the fact that God is going to add to his people. Remember, Jesus said, if you seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all of his righteousness, he then said all these things will be added to you. The things that he was speaking about were things that the ordinary person worries about having. But God said you don't have to worry about having certain things. All you have to do is put me first and I will add certain things to you. That's how most of us got blessed. We just kept putting God first and he kept adding to our lives. Oh yeah. That's how he chooses to do it. He adds to your life as you put him first. Some of you are worried about things this morning. Don't worry about that. Take no thought about that, because worrying can't change nothing. It doesn't do any good to worry. You need to put God first and let him add to your life. If you unemployed, put God first and let him add a job to your life. Let him give you the right job at the right time around the right folk. Am I preaching right this morning? But it also has to do with to flourish or to prosper or to blossom. In other words, God will have you to go through a season where you've got to go through some trials. You've got to go through some tests. We all have got to be tested every now and then. And sometimes he'll send you through what I call a season of testing. A season where he'll put you up under the fire. A season where he will allow you to go to the lion's den. A season where he will allow you to go to the fire furnace. I'm talking about a season where he'll allow folk to betray you. I'm talking about a season where he'll allow folk to talk about you and allow people to lie on you and allow people to try to bring you down from the place from where he brought you up to. But tell your neighbor, don't worry about none of that. Oh, tell your neighbor, because your enemies can't curse what God has blessed. Oh, shout to somebody, I'm blessed. And the enemy can't curse what God has blessed. But there comes a time where it is your season to increase. It is your season to prosper. And saints, we have to seize the moment when God opens up a window, a door, an opportunity whereby he says to you, despite what you're going through, I desire to prosper you. I desire to pick you up. You've been the tail too long. I want to make you the head this year. You've been borrowing, but I want to give you so much that you can start to lend. But there's a danger in struggling for so long to where you feel like things will never change. The devil is a lie. All it takes is one word from God. One word from God will change your life. Do you believe it? Somebody shout, show it right. Shout, show it right. Sit down for a moment. It was one word from God that changed many of our lives. Brought us out of practicing sin. We heard a word that pricked our hearts. And we've been doing better ever since. I'm telling you, I got the revelation that God wants me to prosper. I got the revelation that God wants me to do good. And see, I don't allow nothing to take the revelation out of my heart. And so while I'm being blessed, while I'm looking good, if you roll your eyes at me, you won't take it out of my heart. I'm telling you now, if you hate on me, you only gonna motivate me to do better. God, that's a word for somebody. You got to let your haters be your motivator. You got to let those that love to talk about you, why not really give them something to talk about? I know y'all been whispering, but I'm going to give your little group something to really talk about. Because see, some folks ain't got nothing going on in their life. They just love talking about other folk. But see, that's all right with me. Some of you ain't got beyond that point. You worry about what folk gonna say. You'd be surprised if folks say something like, well, I would wear that, but I don't want to be too clean. I don't want nobody looking at me thinking that I think I'm all that, and I don't want nobody thinking that I got this, that, and the other, that I got this kind of money or that kind of money. You know what I say? It ain't no such thing as looking too good. I'm coming up in here clean every single chance that I get, whether I'm in a suit, whether I'm casual, whether I'm in a sweatsuit, I'm going to be looking good because what you say does not bother me. Why? I got the revelation that he wished above all things that I prosper and be in health, even as my soul does prosper. Solomon said that he maketh one rich and he add no sorrow with it. God don't mind blessing you. But can you stand to be blessed? Can you handle being blessed? Can you handle favor? Can you handle increase? Can you handle better? If you can, tap 3 4 tell them I can handle it. Let the haters say what they want. Let the backbiters talk. Let them get jealous. I can handle it. Better is here right now, and I'm going to seize the moment. Brother Q said grab it. Just seize it. Sit down. And figuratively speaking, when he said it, I started grabbing stuff. I looked around and some folk wasn't grabbing nothing. See, it's by faith. I believe God was using him to speak to the people of God. Preach to us, Brother Q. What do I need to do? Reach up and grab it. I started grabbing then. I was pulling some stuff down. Now, how you gonna get mad at me when something manifests that I pulled down, but when I looked at you, you was as cold as an ice cube? Why are you upset with me? I pulled it. Sit down. I was in the same service you was in. I heard the same word you heard. But notice, Hebrews 3:16, for who having heard, rebel. You actually got folk that hear a word from God, but their heart will be hard and they won't receive. They won't receive it. They reject the word. And God said his people are destroyed. He said it through the prophet Hosea. He said, for my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Because of what? They don't know. Yet he says, I send knowledge, but you reject knowledge. I'm giving you a word to bring you out, but you reject my word. I'm showing you, I'm giving you direction, telling you how to handle this, that, and the other that's out of order. I'm showing you how to bring peace in the midst of chaos, but you reject my word. I'm giving you a word that'll cause you to be better, but you reject my word. Who having heard, rebel. They got a word, but walked in unbelief. Unbelief has to do with a child of God not living or walking by faith. We have been ordained as children of God to live or to walk by faith, not by our sight. Tell that to your neighbor. Say, I've been ordained to live by faith, not by sight. I mean, understand that. But sight is not just your vision. Sight deal with the human senses. We have been ordained not to live by the human senses, which are a blessing, but I got to put them in their right place. Let me break this down. Some of you looking confused. It's a blessing to see. It's a blessing to hear. It's a blessing to be able to feel. But now when God says something to me and I allow what I see to tell me God is not going to do what he said, I now have put my senses in a place where they don't belong. Why? Because as a man, I am limited. And sometimes your eyes will play tricks on you. How many of you thought you saw something, but you didn't see what you thought you? See, we don't allow our senses to govern us. We allow the word to govern us. Come on, somebody, because I'm teaching you something good this morning. You have to walk by faith again, not by your sight. If God speaks a thing and you hear something contrary to what God said, you don't receive that no matter who it's coming from. They may be a so-called professional, but they are not above God. They may have a degree, but they are not above God. They may own this, that, and that, but they are not above God. They may be smart, but they are not above God. So I hear you, but I don't hear you. I don't receive what you're saying. Why? Because God has spoken differently, and I've been ordained to block you out and believe God. That's how you get some blessing. You block out certain folk and you get what God got. Some of you got folk in your ear right now telling you certain stuff ain't gonna happen. Block them out. Get to the point to where you bold and just tell them, hush. You don't know what you talking about. Where the word say, you don't know the word like that. Come on. I'm talking to somebody. So notice what he says now, because we got to get this. For who haven't heard rebel? Indeed, was it not all who came out of Egypt led by Moses? Look, they had the right leader. They actually had a man in Moses that God was speaking through Moses. God was giving Moses the law. He was giving Moses instruction. Moses was giving it to the elders, and the elders were relaying it to Israel. And because of it, Israel was moving forward until a group of folk got too big for their britches, until some folk got to thinking that, well, maybe Moses ain't really hearing from God, or maybe Moses ain't the only one that can hear from God. But see, you have to know the position, the authority of your pastor. You have to recognize that God talks to your pastor, and your pastor comes and he talks to you. He comes and tells you what thus saith God. And so he's not an ordinary man. He is, in fact, God's man. I'm not just listening to a man, I'm listening to God's man. Because see, some of us come out of church where we think all preachers are the same. Devil is a lie. You can't put all preachers in the same category. There are some folk preach for fame. There are some folk preach for money. Some folk preach just because they family run the church, and so they just chose somebody in the family to be the preacher, but they have not been ordained to preach. I'm talking about an anointed preacher. I'm talking about somebody that when he or she preaches a word, that word come to pass. Some of you have certain things now because God gave me a word, and I was not a jellyback. I was not a wimp. I went out there and preached the word despite what I was hearing.